when you use NumPy arrays, do you use 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional arrays? Or maybe 7 dimensions? I don't know, maybe you have a use for them. Well, if you do, maybe it's just me, but maybe you also sometimes have to pause to figure out which number represents which dimension. Is the first number the rows or the columns, and which one is the layer? I often use trial and error, but I've tried to figure out why they're the way they are, so that now I'll remember them. Let me show you. Let me start with a 1-dimensional array. Now, 1 dimension is nice and easy, right? There's only 1 dimension. In this case, I've got a 1-dimensional array with 5 elements. Let me stop it there. And the shape, NumPy shows the shape always as a tuple. That's why it's 5 comma. And one way of creating a 1-dimensional array with 5 elements would be to use mp.zeros. I'm using the tuple there, but in this case, you could also use the integer 5. And you can see that the shape you see on your terminal, this is what Python will display, what NumPy will display, is similar to the animation I'm showing you. Okay, nice and easy. Now, let's go to another dimension. I would like to have 4 rows. So these 5 elements I have, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I want them to be in 4 rows. Where do I put the extra dimension? It has to go first, so 4, 5, not 5, 4. Let's have a look at the animation, and that's where the first number, 4, now refers to how many rows we have. So the rightmost axis, the rightmost dimension, is what is shown as horizontally. It's the first one we put in. The one to its left is the next dimension we've added, which in this case is the vertical dimension. So we end up with 4 rows. And if I had to show a NumPy array, then np zeros 4, 5, you can see that the display shown there is identical to the graphics I have at the back. 4 rows, and each row has 5 items. So the rightmost is the first dimension we've added. And then to its left, so before it, is the next dimension we've added. So what if I want to add the layers now, a third dimension? If I want to keep the rows and the columns as they are, but add a dimension in depth, then the new dimension has to come before, so to the left of both of these. Let's go and have a look. There we go. So what I need now is a shape 3, 4, 5. The first number there, so the leftmost number, is the final dimension we're adding, the last dimension we're adding. And that's where the depth comes in. So the 3 represents how many layers we have, 0, 1, 2. The 4 is how many rows we have, 0, 1, 2, 3. And finally, the rightmost axis, the rightmost dimension, represents the horizontal. And if I had to display this, of course, when you display this on your terminal, you can't see it in 3D, but what we see here is the first layer, the second layer, and the third layer. So it's as though you take each one of these and put them behind each other. And to finish off, this now makes it easy to change one particular value and to be able to visualize it. For example, let's take the value 2, 1, 0 in sum array. So I start off with sum array, which is the zeros I've shown you earlier, so the 3-dimensional array, all values being 0. But then I change the value 2, 1, 0, so I've picked one element in this 3D array and changed it to 99. Which one is it? The first number represents the layers. Therefore, 2, 0, 1, 2 represents the last layer. So we're in the last layer. The middle number tells us which row we're in. 1 is 0, 1, so it's the second row. So the layer at the back, the second row, and therefore the rightmost index represents where we are left to right. So it's leftmost element in the second row of the final layer. You can see it there, and you can see it matches there as well. It's the last layer, the second row, the first element of the second row of the last layer. Whew. Good. So that's the animation. That's the end of it. I'll show you an article I've written, not exactly about this, but about a related topic. Last week I published an article about broadcasting in NumPy. And this matters because the way to understand broadcasting is to understand this pattern that we add new dimensions, if you like, from right to left. And when it comes to broadcasting, this really matters in knowing what arrays are compatible with each other. I won't go through the details of broadcasting. I've really enjoyed writing this article. I've gone down a very narrative route, a storytelling route. So if you do use NumPy and if you're interested in broadcasting, do have a read through this article. You'll see similar diagrams. These are not the same diagrams I've just shown you. These are specific to the story being told here and the broadcasting around it. But this article carries on the idea we've been discussing just now. And that's the image I've created, which does look like a bit of a NumPy array. And there's a reason why it looks like a sort of hotel, because this article is called, where is it? The strange practices at the broadcaster's inn. So it talks about this rather strange and weird hotel at the edge of a particular town. Feel free to go and read the article. And that's NumPy arrays and a tiny bit about broadcasting. I may talk about broadcasting in more detail in the future. But for the time being, there's the article for you.